Why black women, no, not even just why black women, I want to talk to you about why employee mental health education is a necessary first step for black women, black career women, registered nurses, and believers who are dealing with job stress that's lasting them longer than 6 weeks in the workplace. So I was just out today. It's hot. I was just thinking. I was like, let me share. I've been doing a lot of lessons on power moves that I've been reading out of my book, and I said, let me just share why you should be doing employee mental health education. I think part of the problem is trust, lack of understanding. God says, in all you're getting, get understanding. But nobody is getting understanding about the mental health services that they're seeking when they're dealing with workplace issues. You don't have enough information to enter the system when you're exhausted, when you are fearful of losing your paycheck, when you haven't grown in intimacy with the God that you say that you love, that you say that you trust, but will quickly abandon, as so many people do, haphazardly because they're afraid to lose their paycheck, their identity, their health insurance. They're looking at the economy. They're looking and seeing and watching everything else but the word of God. In Jeremiah 6:16, God says, "Stand, look at the ways, look at the ways that you are being offered. Say nah. Ask for the good way, where you will find rest for your soul." And then, as people said, we will not walk that therein. I hope that you will not be telling Yahweh no, especially if you're having workplace issues and you're dealing with job stress. And my God, my God. Okay, let's just go ahead and get through this. I am hopeful. I am hopeful that somebody who is listening to me this evening, listening to why employee mental health education, understand the gravity of what they're dealing with in the workplace and the common ways, the traditions of man that we do to keep our jobs, to keep the peace, to keep, you know, our way of life. I hope that you see the significance of what it is that I am instructing you on. So let me just go ahead and get into tonight's lesson. Okay. In 2015, I was fired for disability from a major U.S. hospital. I'm Glenee Davis, your workforce care nurse. When workplace stress, injury, fear, or discrimination come for us, we need the right tools to contend. That's why you now have employee mental health education, the least invasive treatment first, so that you can make informed employment, mental health, and faith based decisions from a sound mind as you direct the course of your life toward your unique health equity goal. Education always comes before an informed decision. You should always know the risk and the gains of what it is that you are about to get yourself into. Today, moving forward, you have to stop blindly trusting any organization that wants access to your land, to your body, that turns you away from the Word of God. You have to question that. You have to ask questions. You have to test the spirits. You have to see what it is that your spirit is asking you to do when you're dealing with workplace issues lasting you longer than 6 weeks and continuing to, play with your mind. Employees deserve understanding before they get a medical intervention. A medical intervention can be as something as just taking a pill. And I'm looking at y'all. I'm scrolling on the internet and I'm looking at how interested everyone is that I come across in taking antidepressants and antipsychotics and anti-anxieties. People love popping pills. Do you? But then there's also another side of the social media where people are trying to detox off of these pills and they realize that taking the pill is not helping them in their situation. I too was one of those women who was making 150,000 a year back in 2015, 2014, 2015, plus a $20,000 stipend, a homeowner, widowed mom of two, driving a luxury car, traveling with friends, dating, like had it going on. I did not want to risk my way of life, my comfort, my identity, my social circle. So I understand where you are, but scripture reminds us that those who save their lives will lose it. Those who lose their life for Christ's sake will find it. I want you to know that there is life on the other side of chronic job stress. It does not have to end with a medical diagnosis, prescription medications, becoming a lifelong patient. You do not have to exchange your inheritance, your wealth, your health, your provisions that has been given to you by Yahweh Himself to take FMLA. You don't have to do any exchanges with the corporation for what is due to you, what is yours. You don't have to do that. Employees across the nation are expected to make life-changing employment and mental health decisions without first understand the ramifications, not just what's happening to you, but what's happened to the unemployables on the street, to the corporate and pharmaceutical. Um, I don't even want to call them waste because they're human beings, but the corporate and pharmaceutical casualties of war. You're dealing with job stress, you are at war. Don't you serve a God who promises to fight your battles? So if you serve a God just like them, they did not believe in God. You see them all the time holding up their signs, you know, um, about God. But what they didn't know is that that test of faith took place at work, and they failed an open book test. I don't want you to. I almost, almost lost. So if you're dealing with job stress, I'm as a registered nurse, I'm here to support you in whatever decision that you make, whether you want to be a patient or whether or not you want to be a victor. I'm here to support you because my job as a registered nurse is to prevent death, disease, and illness. I want to do my job as a registered nurse. And because of what happened to me, I now see a very large portion of our workforce who enter into mental health services behind job related stress then become patients injured from medications, diagnosed with diseases, and all of it was preventable because it was a stress challenge that came your way that you avoided so that you can keep the peace, keep your paycheck, keep your benefits, keep your comfort. So if that's something that you want to do, I understand if this is not a topic that you want to listen to. But if you are a woman who is faith based, college educated, career driven, and you are dealing with workplace issues and is impacting your health, and you know that there has to be something more to what it is that you are experiencing, you deserve education before you just say okay and come into an agreement with a medical diagnosis and be given a prescription that you may not need. You don't want to make life changing employment and mental health decisions without first understanding what is happening with you, understanding what your rights are, understanding how to exercise your rights, how to access your rights, how to be fearlessly and faithfully employed, knowing that you have a God in heaven who is rooting for you to live by his word, even in the workplace. Employee and mental health education gives you that knowledge that you need before you do a medical intervention, because it's not benign to just take a pill haphazardly. Even in today's electronic world, if you take a prescription from your doctor, then now you have an electronic record of that medication. You want to be careful with things like that, especially if you don't want a record of disability, if you don't want pre-existing conditions, if you don't want a medication that says that you have a mental illness because maybe you can't get certain types of life insurances, or maybe you can't get a license to carry a firearm. There are a lot of things that go along with you getting that prescription. It's not benign, and it's not okay to take medication in the absence of a disease. So these are 6 reasons. The first one was that women like you deserve understanding before you know, get a medical intervention. Education is so important. I say on my website that education plus access equals wealth. Girl, that understanding, God wants you to get understanding. So the second reason that you should be doing employee mental health education is because workplace stress should always be assessed before you are misinterpreted. How many times do black career women, registered nurses, and believers go to their doctor? Maybe you have been to your doctor and you have just been burdened about something that is taking place at work, and it's just becoming heavy, and you're noticing um, slights and crosses that's happening to you at work, and you might feel that they are colluding against you, and you want to say something, or maybe you even said something to your manager, and now assignments have been changed from you. You're no longer included in certain activities. Those things are retaliation, and if you're not careful about how you present it to psychiatry, because of their own biases and because no one looks at the atmosphere of the workplace, you can be diagnosed with delusions, hallucinations, when God absolutely is also telling you of things to happen. He wrote it in the Bible. Do you believe him? He said, I will tell you of things to come. So you got to be careful about what you're saying to the doctors and how they're writing up what it is that you're saying. I'm not saying not to go, but I'm saying that you need to go prepared, because with anything that you do, you have to plan to succeed. If you don't plan, you plan to fail. You have to plan, you have to execute, and you have to put yourself first. You have to treat yourself as the agency. Okay? You are the business, because here's the deal: if you don't address your concerns, everybody else is going to compensate off of your distress. Oh, I should have got a copy of that. Just how much money runs through these insurance companies, pharmaceuticals, because of what started with job stress. And if you don't understand or know what I just said, every disease begins with job stress or stress, period. Stress is an inflammatory process, and every disease begins with an inflammatory process. For many of us, as black women and as registered nurses, it's job and it's work related. And it's not that you shouldn't be working or working yourself to the bone until you just exhausted. It's certain things that you shouldn't be tolerating. And you definitely shouldn't be putting everything else before your agency. But you don't have to do it in such a rude way either. It's just about setting standards for yourself so that other people know how to treat you. They see you treating yourself a certain way, so therefore the expectation is to meet and exceed how you treat yourself. So I said the second reason that you would like to get employee mental health education is so that we could take a look at the workplace. There aren't any other professionals that will take a look at the workplace. As a registered nurse, and because of occupational safeties, hazards, and workplace causing you a serious health condition, um, and there are health impacts on this, we can take a look at it. I can be your advocate. We can go in there, we can assess, we can see, we can talk, we can have conversations with your boss. There are a lot of things that we can do to make sure that your environment is in a better position so that you can thrive, and that makes sure that you are even in the right fit. It's not about you just saying that they need to change. It's about an assessment, a complete assessment about you, how you're responding to what's going on in the workplace, how you're adapting. This is why we do the work fatigue quiz, so that you know what your level of fatigue is, and then we work there. You set a health equity goal, and we move towards that. Because if you don't set a health equity goal, then health disparities will happen, and we don't want that. We want you to be healthy, happy, and whole, even if you're facing some workplace issue that is threatening your health, sending you into the doctor's office and making you feel as if you want to, take medication because you're feeling depressed about the things that's going on at work. If you haven't seen my video on the difference between workplace depression and clinical depression, you should check that out. They're not the same. They have the same signs and symptoms, but one of them is internal and the other one is external. It is the workplace. And so we can look into what's happening there. Not every employee experiencing workplace distress is mentally ill. Sometimes you just lack the information that you need to make a good decision. So, number three, the third reason is fear is a poor decision maker. When you're fearful, I like to say, fear kills more lives, hopes, and dreams than any disease combined, than every disease combined. Fear will keep you paralyzed from making one move. And that is why education is so important. You get an opportunity to compare and contrast, to look at the situations, an opportunity to build your intimacy with Yahweh so that you can walk in faith. Nobody can sell you health. I can't sell you health. I can't even offer you this mental health, employee mental health education without pointing and giving glory to God, because it's not on me. It's on you to trust in your God. I just want to point you into the right direction because you deserve your own unique health equity outcome. You deserve to you deserve to have rest, you deserve to be able to let go of your fear of income, knowing that you have a God who is going to meet your needs, even if you don't logically understand. And it won't be about logic. It will not. Logic will ruin your chances at pleasing God. What he say that without faith, it's impossible to please Him. It won't be about logic. You can. I know, for me, when I was going through 4 years of employment discrimination based on disability at a major U.S. hospital, I absolutely used my nursing process and I studied the law surrounding my particular issue, studied outcomes, studied cases. I used my downtime to do that. But it wasn't about me applying logic, it was about me understanding what I should get in the natural. But at the same time, I had to study words that was inside of the nursing process, and I mean study these words in depth and really understand how words move, transverse, transitive verbs, and now like just really study how these things are supposed to be ebbing and flowing for me in my life, in my situation. And that helped me to lean more on God. Not that I understood what the outcome would be, and not that I understood any of those things in my own logic, but that I understood that things are supposed to work out in my favor. Because not only does the Bible say that, the words, the law, and everything says that. So if everything is saying that I'm supposed to have this, why am I not having it? What's the gap? For me, the gap was that I was trying to hold on to everything that I worked so hard for, desperately hold on to it because I'm just a girl from the hood. Like, for me to be moving from making $13 and a penny, then going into nursing school and making as much money as I did when this happened, I was like, God, I know you not asking me to let all of this go. And He was like, girl, yes, I got something bigger and better for you. I'm not the only one. I'm not His only child. No. Hate to see so many of you guys struggling in the workplace and listening to you online, um, like in tears, crying about what's happening, but at the same time, very unsure about trusting God. So I stand here at the gate, for anybody who's willing to have some semblance of understanding of how this workplace thing works with faith and how you're supposed to trust God as your source. It's not about being an unreasonable person, but then you are, aren't you valuable? Aren't you worthy of a fight? So I last said that fear is a poor decision maker. And fear causes employees to stay in work too long. They should be letting go. But there's also a place where you let go. Everything that you do, you need to be asking God. I have had to ask God, oh my God, take me out of this place. And it would be my last day. They would let me go with a severance check or something. I've had issues in the workplace because of policy and because of devaluation and because of discrimination and harassment since I began working. And still, I'm an excellent employee, good rapport, but those things still happen to me. And in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, well, those were potentially building blocks to help me understand what other people also go through or may go through and don't come out. Yeah, you leave too soon. You remain silent about things that matter. You give up, become tolerant. You agree to things that you don't fully understand. So when you have the education that you need, it replaces the fear with understanding. God says, in all you're getting, get understanding. We hope that you will come into employee mental health education so that you can get the understanding that you need to remain employable. So many people on the streets across our nation who are unemployable. I'm not just talking about the homeless or the unhoused or whatever political words you want to attach to it. I'm talking about the unemployable, the people on the streets who've been through the ringer. It was something that happened in the workplace. The common denominator is the workplace bias in healthcare and in medicine. So, the fourth reason you want to get employee mental health education is because you deserve informed consent. Every employee should understand the options that is available to them. What your employment options are, what your treatment options are, what your workplace protections are, your recovery strategies. You want to be able to take off work using your FMLA and return to work in a better position than when you left. Employee mental health education equips employees like you to participate in those decisions with knowledge rather than confusion, and understanding where faith plays a role in making hard decisions, virtuous decisions, decisions that are going to stretch you instead of deny you and box you in. The fifth reason is that the least invasive treatment first includes education. I said this earlier. Taking a pill is not non-invasive. It is invasive. I just did a video Monday that talked about the blood-brain barrier. Had I had I known the impact of crossing the blood-brain barrier in a lived experience, I knew it as a nurse, I knew it scientifically, and I knew that it's supposed to help, with the symptoms. But the symptoms was because there was an actual threat against my life taking place in the workplace called employment discrimination based on disability. But nobody wanted to hear that. And the more medication they gave me, the sicker and weaker I became. That's why I say I almost didn't make it through. Almost didn't. So you deserve the education that you need before you become a mental patient. Before you become a mental patient, like Lord, I'm telling you, I longed. It was so hard. I longed for a padded room, some Haldol, and some Ativan. Like just put me out my misery. But what if you knew that this was your calling? That God was asking you to do something, and it'd be better for you to do long suffering, which is part of fruit of the spirit, than it is for you to suffer for the world and keep the things that you have worked hard for. The choice and the option is always yours. My job is just to present what the system does so that you can choose a system that you know will help you prevail over the system. Because there's a saying, it says something like, this system wasn't made for us, but, and I like to add on to that, this system wasn't made for us, but you are also born to overcome and to prevail it. Because greater is in you than he that is in the world. Education doesn't diagnose you, which is why you should be getting employment mental health education first. You might discover some things that you are experiencing in the workplace, and you'll be like, oh, well, maybe it's not clinical depression. Maybe it's not anxiety. Maybe it is my calling to work out my own salvation in all fear and all trembling. Maybe this is why this is happening. Like, I really want you to get into a position to trust God. I know how hard you've worked to get to where you are, but you have to be childlike to please God. You gotta be childlike. You gotta be hopeful like a little child waiting on their daddy. Education doesn't prescribe. There's no writing of medication here, no suggesting of medication here. Education doesn't replace mental health services. If you need mental health and therapy, you can go get it. But you still need a plan. You still need a plan. And if you go to therapy behind your workplace, they're never going to talk to you about what's happening at work. All they're going to do is manage your symptoms until you tolerate what's going on at work. My psychiatrist literally said to me, it's been 6 weeks. You shouldn't still be upset about your employer making business decisions. Well, when their business decisions were corrupt and excluded me having access to my rights, I'm more than upset. I'm mad. I'm mad. That's why I'm here, because I'm mad. And I'm trying to, you know, not show how mad I am. um, Education equips employees with the knowledge to determine their next right step. Sometimes people abandon things so soon that they don't get growth from it. They just get regret from it. We want all of that to stop, because the workplace is such a pivotal moment in your career that you want to take a step back to look at what it is that you're going through. So even if you're thinking about quitting your job, you want to take a step back and be like, let me go ahead and use my FMLA. Let me tap into this benefit. Let me ask about this policy. As an employee here in America, you are the richest, the richest in benefits. And entrepreneurs don't have all the benefits that you have. As an employee, you have benefits, options. And so I understand why it's so hard to make a decision in that area. Trust me, I got pictures of myself looking like, who did it to her and why? I did it to myself because I did not understand that the job stress that I was going through, I didn't fully understand that the job stress that I was going through was a calling from God. I had some awareness, some leading, some vexing about what it is that I was experiencing. But because nobody had gone through it before me to tell me, to warn me, to show me, to support me, I don't know. So I did it anyway. I did it anyway because I said, I'd rather try God, because I'd rather try my future to unknown God than to keep following the direction of these doctors who are corporate doctors, because I see the results of what it is that they do. Do you see the results of what it is that they do? And you're going to keep playing with your health, with your mind, with your future, with your relationship with God? Psst, I think not. So the sixth reason, and then I'm going to get out of here, is because not one employee should have to lose everything before understanding what is happening. If everything is on the line for you, one wrong move can have you losing everything. I still lost everything that was attached to that former employer. But this is what I gained. First of all, I gained my health, my sanity. I was able to go back to work after 2 years after being fired for disability. I went back to work and in a fitting job, didn't need an accommodation. And I was in escrow, not foreclosure. I wrote my first book, Well Done, Hood Girl to Head Nurse. And this is actually the completion of Well Done, Hood Girl to Head Nurse. But what happened to me during that 4 years was so painful, I could not write it down in a way that was beneficial and helpful for you. So 10 years later, three iterations, and 10 years later, this beautiful little masterpiece, Operation Mental Health, is available for you. And it's beautiful. Look at that. We got rays of sun shining down on the nursing profession because, like I said, I did use the nursing process to help guide me through what it is that I was experiencing and just kind of give me some metrics, metrics to what it is that I was going through and what the expectation should have been because I am dealing with the system. So, but I also had a hell of a lot of faith, that God had brought me to this and that He would lead me through it. And what He did for me in this business and helping others is probably one of the most important new businesses in America for the workforce and where you all are right now in dealing with job stress and profit before people and the fatigue and the economy, to be able to just rest, rule, and abide with your maker. So that's why I created employee mental health education, because I know what it's like to make these decisions afraid, and I know what the consequences are when you are in disbelief and when you're doubting and when you are looking more at the world than looking at heavenly things. You're choosing things that don't have life to it. That's a very, very, very scary situation to be in, and it's one that you cannot come back from. I don't care what the religion tells you. The Bible is true. Okay. So my goal is to help employees make these informed decisions in the areas of employment, mental health, and faith-based decisions before workplace stress changes the course of your life and the destination of the soul. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. This was just some impromptu live that I came to, and if you found any value in what it is that we talked about this evening, please like and share and tell a friend about it.